Check. Check. Going live. I didn't do a show tonight, y'all. I didn't do a show tonight. So we're going to go live real quick. I wanted to discuss this little thing that's circulating and get right up on it. This is brand new breaking news information. First of all, shouts to the New York Knicks. Knicks tape, baby. Not playing around. Game one, New York Knicks, baby. There was a song released tonight. I was just in an argument, not an argument, a debate. We debate things in hip hop. This is hip hop. We debate these things. So I'm ahead of this. Y'all might not have heard about this. I kind of wanted to get on it because, people are going to be talking about it. And I'm always early on these things. Macklemore dropped a joint tonight that was very political and very passionate and very pro-Palestinian, part of this whole conflict and taking a side. And that's fine. That's perfectly fine. And if Macklemore feels like he should do this, that's fine. What I'm seeing is immediately some content, some responses from some of our most treasured hip hop commentators, cultural commentators out there in the world, and some people agreeing with the fact that because of the battle, the Drake Kendrick thing, that the Macklemore response was somehow like, I don't have a sound effect, but this is the best I got. It's not the same as what I'm trying to get across. So I figured we'd talk about it because I know that some people are going to be talking about this. So I'm early on it. So if y'all don't know what I'm talking about yet, I'm always early on these things. I didn't do a show tonight. I didn't do a Hip Hop Save America tonight. I've just been trying to catch up on some things myself. But this song by Macklemore is going to get your attention if you're into the hip hop world. If the algorithm should serve you right, you'll get this Macklemore song. You'll get people talking about this Macklemore song, where he's again very much political, very much pro-Palestinian in the conflict between the state of Israel and the Palestinian people. And I am fully 100%. If you want to know the truth, if you want to hear me, my opinion, I'm fully on the side of a ceasefire now, fully on the side of overreaction by the Israeli state. And I think that so much has been done, and there's not enough being done by our government, by other governments to stop, clearly what's, if not an ethnic cleansing and genocide, blah, 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 blah. That's not the point. My opinion doesn't matter any more than Macklemore's matters. And it's a good opinion, and I value his opinion. But what I'm hearing is people who are jumping on this in the wake of this Drake Kendrick Lamar battle, as if to say, finally someone comes through and, takes us away from the distraction. Finally someone comes through and does the moral, righteous thing, and it's Macklemore of all people. And I responded, my first response was, it's cool. It's a great, little 2.5 minute diatribe over beats. It's dope. It's Macklemore. He knows how to spit. There's nothing wrong with him. But I did say that he is quite the panderer. I think he panders to issues. I think he takes an issue that's hot in the topic in a moment, and he panders to it. He's done it with the LGBTQ issues. He's done it with other things. Trying to bring in old school hip hop heads when people were talking about nobody getting the old school hip hop heads any love, any flowers. And I feel like he panders to the moment. And first of all, let me know. I see a few people tuned in. Just let me know you can hear me clear. I jumped on. This is not my normal setup. It's not my normal show. I just want to make sure I'm sounding good, tasting good, feeling good. And please give me a 2 cents and comments. I'm trying to have a discussion about this, not just be a lecturer tonight, because I saw some of our revered, hip hop cultural commentators, as well as some, regular fans like we are, jump on this as if to say, finally someone steps up and does something. And this goes to a longer issue that I have. It's a longer discussion. It's probably the I don't know. It's going to be the probably the I don't know. Maybe I'll write something. Maybe I'll do a whole show. That I find it really weird that in 2024 we still thank you y'all, appreciate you, thank you Ian, thank you Philip Drummond, shouts to y'all. I find it really weird that we are waiting for and celebrating the fact that someone does what would be considered a protest song, right? In history, these are songs that were done to, call attention to an issue. And, from Bob Dylan to Marvin Gaye to Stevie Wonder to we know this in the history, the Dixie Chicks, whatever. We know that this is a thing that people do and artists and musicians are supposed to do. Yes, and hip hop was great at this. Fight the Power was that, all those Public Enemy joints, and certainly a bunch of other Tupac and hip hop's been The Message. Hip hop's been rife with, we've been fueled with this throughout the decades and the decades that we've been doing hip hop. And there's a feeling that hip hop doesn't do that anymore. The hip hop doesn't have that anti-establishment, counterculture, blah blah blah. So when there's a big attention on Drake, Kendrick Lamar, which I don't think is a bad thing. It's another conversation. I don't think there's anything wrong with focusing on a battle between hip hop heads. This is what we do. This is what hip hop's always done. But to say, I saw this earlier in the week where someone says, I don't remember who it was. I'd give credit, and I'm on Facebook a lot, so I just jump in the comments. But someone says, now if Kendrick Lamar was to do an anti-Palestine song, like capitalizing on the attention, that would be dope, because Kendrick Lamar has sort of been known to be more of a, what we used to call a conscious rapper or whatever. And I jumped in because I have this thing. I got this thing, y'all. And I said, I wouldn't care if Kendrick, I would think that he would be pandering, because he doesn't do that. I mean, he kind of touches on issues, and Kendrick Lamar obviously has touched on issues of police brutality and Black Power and some of these great topics. And some might call him hypocritical or might say he's problematic. It's not the point. The point is, he's touched on these things before, but it's not like this was his, if Immortal Technique came out with a song about it, I'd be like, yeah, that's on brand for Immortal Technique. I don't know that I'd be fully engaged if it was Kendrick Lamar, because he hasn't been outspoken on foreign affairs and political stuff overseas. People say about Jay-Z, like, well, we need a protest song. And I'm like, I don't care. Why do I care if Jay-Z makes a protest? That's not on brand for Jay-Z. However, I do appreciate the fact that he funded he executive produced the Khalif Browder documentary. That's what I want to see from folks like Jay-Z. Supposedly, and this is another longer conversation, he's been, he bailed protesters out of jail. He's worked with that criminal justice reform committee. Longer conversation as to whether that's any work or not, any real work or not. The point is, in 2024, we're still sitting around waiting, asking for, seeking, searching, reaching for, and then celebrating when someone does a protest song, which Macklemore did tonight. And again, nothing wrong with Macklemore. Well, there's a few things wrong with Macklemore, but fine, do that. And I said to Davey D. Cook, the great Davey D., who I love and respect, as a great journalist, a great hip hop cultural commentator for many, many years, was posted this up, and that's why I caught wind of it. And I'm like, that's cool and all, but Macklemore kind of panders to the issue, so all right, whatever. But it's an important message to get out right now. And I listened to the song and the video, and it struck this chord with me that has been I'm trying to figure out how to tell this to the world more betterer. In 2024, hip hop can do so much more to affect change in the world than just release a song. And I've called out Questlove, or called in. Someone said, don't call them out, call them in. Like, you want them in you want them to understand. And right, who am I? I'm just a guy. I'm nobody compared to like these wildly successful people. But it just bothers me so much that we sit and we wait for music as if this is 1980. And the only way that we can call attention to issues is by putting out a song by a major artist. We Are the World and The Message. There's no problem in today's age with information and social media and blah, 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 of understanding what the issue is. We know what the issue is in Israel, with Palestine and Gaza. We know what the issue is. So I listened to the song, and it's him espousing his views on the topic, which is great. I happen to agree with a lot of them, not all of them, but a lot of it. And then I'm waiting to hear any mention of, I don't know, news organizations, uh, sort of cultural organizations that are doing work on the ground, particularly those that are fueled by hip hop heads. So I produce a podcast called the Newsbeat Podcast, and I don't want to center this back on me. However, I know we exist, and I know we're not big. We're big enough, but we're not big. So I have to figure that there are also other innovative hip hop fueled media outlets like mine, because we've talked about the Israel Gaza issue for months. And we are very much a hip hop oriented news organization. Sometimes we incorporate actual rappers rapping about these issues. Sometimes we just report on them from a personal point of view. That's not being addressed. These organizations aren't being mentioned. I have a problem with anyone who calls out something or points to the problem in a day and age when we need solutions. Philip Drummond says, my man says, if Macklemore can sway a bunch of white folks and young people to action, is that ultimately bad? It seems positive overall. Yes. Is a song going to do that? Is a song going to drive you to action? Right? See, that's the problem I have these days. Maybe if I'm not as tuned into the sides, and I'm a fan of Macklemore, and I'm kind of a white person on the edge of hip hop or whatever, but Macklemore is my guy, and I listen to what he's saying. Is he bringing something new to light that I didn't already see on social media 1,000 times? Right? Because you know how the algorithms work. If you're going to get fed Macklemore, you've been fed some left-leaning stuff. You've been fed some information that's pro-Palestinian. This wouldn't be new information for you. You know what I mean? So I get it. I think that's valuable, but I also think it's ineffective. And at the same time, here's where I would say, okay, there are organizations, there are people on the ground doing this work. They've been just grinding away. There's been legislators. I interviewed House of Representative Jamal Bowman, one of the members of the squad, on my show, Hip Hop Can Save America, which again, I'm doing this every week and people aren't paying attention. And I'm not saying you should pay attention to me like you should pay attention to Macklemore. But what I'm saying is that when there are folks who do know what I do and do know what other people do, and they're celebrating this as some sort of like groundbreaking maneuver, but Macklemore has the power to not just espouse his opinions about an issue. He has the power in that 2.5-minute screed to point out solutions, bro. Solutions. So, did Macklemore direct people to organizations on the ground? No. Right? That's not what I heard in his thing. And I'm saying, and this isn't even actually just Macklemore and this issue. What I'm trying to say is, there are organizations on the ground. There are hip hop or field organizations on the ground that are led by hip hop folks. There's organizations, and I don't want to call them out because I don't want to name them specifically because I actually do the job of vetting them, right? But for instance, I mean, you know, my man Unlearn the World was on the show. He has an organization out in the Bay Area called Hip Hop for Change. My man, right, who's paying attention right now. Philip Drummond with Today's Future Sound. You know, there are organizations where people are doing this kind of work. And I just wish that when people of a certain level get the opportunity to call attention to an issue, they would also call attention to the solution. In journalism, I've been in journalism for a lot of years. There's a thing that's cropped up within the last 10 years. Look, I'm not saying they know how to do this or that what they're doing is wrong. I'm saying it could be better. So I don't know. Maybe someone could reach out to Macklemore and be like, yo, my man Manny Faces, he got a point. Because there's a thing in journalism that's come up in the last, I don't know, decade or so. And it's a a concept, it's an organization, but it's also a concept called solutions journalism. If all we do is keep reporting on the ills and what's wrong and what we see bad, but we're not reporting on the solutions, we're not reporting on, and this is news. Turn on the news, watch the news. All you see is repetitively what's bad. If it bleeds, it leads over and over again. And I'm saying that's so in journalism, we recognize that there's a need for solutions journalism. I'm saying in hip hop, we need to recognize the same thing. Solutions hip hop, not just songs that bring attention to an issue. We don't need attention to this issue. That's my gripe. I am Kingram. What up? Peace. I hope you're subscribed. I hope you know about the show Hip Hop Could Save America. I do every week. I was supposed to do it tonight, and I didn't do it. I took kind of a mental health day, plus the Knicks game one. That's not why I didn't do it, because I wouldn't not do the show because of the Knicks. But I need to catch up on my work, and every time I do a weekly live stream, I give myself more work, and I'm still a small team. So I appreciate you for checking in on this. I don't know if Macklemore has the answers to put in a song, but the songs can bring awareness to the people who are doing the work. I don't know that that's actually what happened. Someone the other day said to me, I've been on the streak lately, so I guess it's just top of mind. But I'm like, yo, this doesn't do anything. And someone says, the bigger if Kendrick Lamar had done a Palestine song, a pro-Israel, whatever, if he had spoken out on the issue, now that he had gotten the attention of the world, instead of just going at Drake. And I said, I don't know that that's going to make a difference, bro. Like, is it really going to make a difference? Is it really going to make a difference? More so than if we're amplifying the work of political leaders or community organizers in the hood. I had Dr. Adia Winfrey on my show last month or so. She's a hip hop. She was doing hip hop psychology. She's a doctor. She was doing hip hop and psychology. And then she ran for Congress. She ran for Congress in Alabama. And she did not get put on. She did not win because Alabama, right? But she then formed, because of the political, strength or organization that she got, she then started an organization called Improve It Alabama. No, dang it, I can't remember it, but it's important. I know. Just look, Adia Winfrey, Alabama, you'll find it. And it's basically to political action in Alabama, drive voters registrations. But more than that, what they did was they led a logistical legal battle in the House of whatever's. And what they did was they helped fight back against redistricting. All right. And I'm getting political, but redistricting means when they redraw the maps of who is in what district, and voters could be in one area or another. And sometimes, and most times they do it. A lot of times the Republican side will do it sort of based on race. They'll say, well, we got to split this area up, because if this is all one district, they'll all vote Democrat. We won't have a representative. Right. So what I'm saying is, long story short, Dr. Adia Winfrey is on the ground. She's as hip hop as anybody else, but she has a movement in Alabama from a political side. And I know politics is funny to a lot of people. And Jamal Bowman, representative from New York, talked about this and said, listen, I know a lot of folks, especially black folk, brown folk, are like, I don't know, politicians, y'all be bugging. I get it, 100%. I'm 100% with you. But there are people like Adia Winfrey that I just wish they got more attention, instead of having to come on my show where I give them the attention. But that's my job. And if everyone gave them attention, I wouldn't have a job. So cool. But what I'm saying is, there are people doing this work. There are people who have been making this argument. Davey D. Cook, in the Facebook response to me, and I love Davey D. I've worshipped, his work is, as a hip hop journalist and cultural commentator. He says in his response to me, where I was like, yo, I don't know, Macklemore, it's a cool song. It's a great response, but come on now, it's just pandering. Says, who should we be rocking with? And then he names like 2 or 3 artists that I didn't even know about, that obviously had a whole song, or one had a whole mixtape. I should call it up, because I say names, man. I love to say names. And so, here we go. Hold on. Davey D says, the only reason I want to say this, because like he mentioned names. He says Tariq Kazela and Sake O One Onederful did an incredible mixtape. Folks like Low Key and Shadia. So he mentioned names. And he says, but at this moment, with folks paying attention to a battle involving several high-profile artists who did a song that we should be rocking with right now that Israel is invading Rafah. And I'm like, why are we rocking with artists and songs? There are hip-hop minded people that are making efforts to affect legislation that's going to change this. And listen, your boy Macklemore called out Biden in the song. Now, I understand the argument against Biden fueling genocide and helping support this issue, and I have I take great pains with what's happening with the Biden administration. I also kind of think that the other guy would be worse. So I think that it's not enough nuance to give a political position in a 2.5-minute song without saying, let's talk about this in a greater, in a larger conversation. And again, my organization, the Newsbeat Podcast, actually has been covering this for months. Real journalists and a hip hop mindset. And so part of it is selfish. I wish we were paid attention to more. Sure. But I also say, I'm not sure that jumping on or expecting our musicians, I wouldn't want a Palestine song from Kendrick Lamar. What I would love, yo, come on, man, shouts to Gangsta Grass, much worse. So that's probably the takeaway, because it was if you heard the Macklemore song, if you haven't, you're gonna hear about this. I'm ahead of it. I caught it right in the beginning, and y'all gonna hear about it. The anti-Biden line is powerful. And I get pushing back against the Biden government to stop, doing what they're doing to help support this, horrific genocide happening over. I understand that whole concept, but to just leave it there and say I'm not voting for you in the fall, Philip, to your point earlier, if those people who aren't very politically engaged, if that's the only message they get, then I actually think that's a dangerous message. So I think that our hip hop heads, our hip hop, I don't know, what do you want to call them? Like top tier musicians, top tier artists, folks with the reach, have to be more thoughtful. Like, I'm being thoughtful about what I'm saying. I'm nobody, like, compared to, I have nowhere to reach. So, but I'm being very thoughtful about what I'm saying. And I'm saying, like, what can they do to better push forth the actual solutions to some of these problems, or action or impact? I am Kingham. I hear the frustration, but we have to understand the power of celebrity platform. The Weeknd has donated millions to Gaza, but what would you like him to do? Well, that's great. I think that's fantastic. I'm not saying that that's not the thing to do. I think he should donate millions to organizations that are hip hop fueled, that are working to make progress in legislation or in education or in areas that are traditionally underserved and under-resourced, right? So there are organizations, again, I'm selfish because some of this is my work. So fund me, Weeknd, be great. But if you don't want to fund me, ask someone like me, look around and say, listen, I want to give millions to Gaza, but I also want to give millions to on-the-ground organizations that I think are forward-thinking, progressive, aren't necessarily tied to political aspirations, because that can get dicey. But I can see have that hip-hop spirit in them. What I'm saying is, I think that most of the people think that hip-hop starts and stops at music, and that hip-hop activism starts and stops at protest songs. And I'm trying to say, and maybe I'm hoping I'm getting this across, that if that's your feeling, that you're wrong. And that's fine, because we're not told about these organizations. We're not told about Adia Winfrey, who I talked about earlier tonight. We're not talked about the work that, Representative Bowman, and I'm still skeptical of Representative Bowman. I love him. He's a great guy. In Congress, starting a hip hop task force. In Congress, to use the power of hip hop to, help end racial inequity and such. And I look at that and say, it's great. I think on paper, that's a good idea, but I'm watching it. But I'm saying, y'all probably didn't hear about this. You probably didn't hear about this. I am saying that I'm probably the only one telling you about these things, but it's fine. Whatever. Forget me. I'm trying not to center me. I don't want to center me. But I'm saying is that when I heard Questlove, this goes back a long time. Iron King, I'm listening to this. Check this out. I appreciate that. As a hip hop artist who has started a political action group, first of all, I want to hear about it. Please reach out. Let me know what you're doing so that I can amplify and signal boost. I hear you, LOL, but I think we need to recognize the courage it takes to step out in front of your fans and be divisive. I mean, this is Macklemore, right? So he's kind of always kind of done that. Like, I respect his hustle. I respect his, this is a good time to jump in and bring back attention to the real issues. Okay. But I gotta tell you, if you're focused on Kendrick and Drake for the last week, that's cool. There are some people that be like, oh, it's a distraction from Palestinian, whatever. And I'm like, no, we can do both at the same time. We can still be activated and watching that situation and whatever. So I don't know that it's that, I don't know, that courageous. I guess it's kind of courageous. Sure. Great. I love it. Great. Do it. What I'm saying is we shouldn't be so like, yay, someone finally spoke out. And then we go about our lives. We were waiting for someone to speak out. Listen, I've been doing a podcast for 6 months talking about Gaza and Israel. I've been doing, it's called Newsbeat. Look up Newsbeat, 2 words. And I'm not saying everyone can do that. This is my job. This is what I do. But I'm saying is, as hip hop heads, we could have, Davey D. Cook said in the response to me, here are the artists who have been speaking out. But it's the first time I heard of them. And I pay attention to this. So were we amplifying those artists enough all this time? No, we weren't. We're not. We don't. We like to jump on the celebrity train. And we do that. And we spread it and share it and we talk about it because it's contrarian. It's easy. It's great to say, all you morons, focused on Drake and Kendrick, there are real issues in the world. And here's Macklemore coming through to remind us. But in the same breath, you talked about other artists that have been reminding us. And I'm telling you, I've worked with 2 organizations that have been reminding us of these issues along the way. So I guess what I'm saying is, and we have to do a better job. This is the work of the independent media outlets or the independent artists who are focusing on these issues. But America's celebrity worshiping. Absolutely. And I find it ironic that our folks who kind of big up the real, in air quotes, the real hip hop aesthetic are like, here's a celebrity that we should pay attention to. Nah, man. Nah, there's people doing this work. So the Weeknd can donate money, great. But are you also calling out or highlighting or spotlighting an organization or a media outlet or somebody doing some work? Are you giving millions to, I don't know, Al Jazeera, who just got shut out of Jerusalem to help, keep these, like, there's so many things, man. There's so many things that we could be doing as an orchestrated, organized sort of hip hop constituency that we don't. We don't. We just sit there and we pay attention to the algorithms, and then we act like we. There's people that was saying on Facebook, y'all need to not be distracted by the Drake Kendrick Lamar battle, but they were saying it on Facebook, which is a distraction from like people were saying that like y'all shouldn't be distracted by this as real issues, but you're commenting on a social media platform, which is by itself a distraction. So I'm saying is I'm trying to formulate this better. I'm trying to, I don't know, put it together, maybe put it out in the world and say, hey, listen, here's what we can do a little bit better. So, I don't know. I'm asking y'all for help. Like every week I do a show called Hip Hop Can Save America. And that sounds kind of wild, but that's what I'm talking about. Like, hip hop songs ain't gonna help save America, bro. Like, I don't care how much attention Macklemore brings to this issue. We know this issue. If you spend 2 minutes watching TV, you know this issue. Macklemore's not giving. Oh, what? There are people dying in Gaza? Thank you, Mr. Lamore, for telling me that. Like, no. It's good that he, reinforces fans to, be on the right side of history. Just like he reinforced them that it's okay to go shopping in a thrift shop. My point is, and I'll take it back to an early, I don't know, example. Years ago, when Michael Brown was killed by police in Ferguson, a few months passed, and Questlove, who we all love, everyone who doesn't love Questlove, put a thumbs down in the chat if you don't love Questlove. There's gonna be nobody. Everyone loves Questlove, but Questlove put out on Instagram and he says, we need more protest music, particularly in the wake of Michael Brown and police brutality. And this was before George Floyd, et cetera, et cetera. And he says, I know that sometimes that can affect your career like it did the Dixie Chicks, and I'm speaking to my hip hop people. I want more protest songs. He says, I know that not every song needs to be Public Enemy Fight the Power, right? But, it'd be great if we had more protest songs. This was Questlove, who's a musicologist and just a music head and a hip hop head, and we love Questlove. This was probably December. I think Michael Brown in Ferguson was killed in, I don't know, like July. I don't remember the exact dates, but I know that a number of months had passed, right? Because I talk about this in a talk that I do. And I saw that and I was a little disappointed, just like I'm disappointed when any OG hip hop like icon or someone of that stature posts about something, particularly when they're like, oh, today's music sucks. Okay, not all of today's music sucks, but you could actually take a moment to say, today's music sucks, except for, I don't know, my man Silent Night from New Jersey who dropped some dope stuff. Like, just give us something, bro. Like, don't just be a hater. Don't just be shaking your fist at the crowd. So I'm already on that wavelength, and I'm like, oh, all these OGs, they just don't, like, all you have to do is, if you want to criticize something, then at the same time, big something up. Like, do both. You've heard me do it 7 times and I've name dropped somebody I think y'all should be paying attention to. So I don't know why they can't do it. I don't get it. But I said, okay, and I looked into it. And in the time that Michael Brown had been killed by police in Ferguson, and Questlove made his comment that we need more, I guess, music about Michael Brown being killed in Ferguson, there were at least 8 songs released by major, like, people we know, people we've heard of, that were tackling either Michael Brown specifically or police brutality as a whole. And I'm talking about The Game, Diddy, which now, okay, sorry, but at the time, yay, right? Okay. One song that was actually De La Soul featuring Chuck D from the old Public Enemy. Remember, he said, we just need new Public Enemies. And I'm like, yeah, like De La Soul did a song with Chuck D from the Public Enemy. But to hear you say it, Questlove, you don't seem to know any of these songs exist or that these artists are doing this work. And there were hundreds of people that were either agreeing with him, okay? Yeah, Questlove, you're right. Hip hop doesn't do that anymore. And I'm like, there's like 8 songs. And that's just the songs from the people we know. Not even talking about independent musicians, local musicians. Tef Poe, who was on the ground, an artist that had been doing music for a long time in St. Louis, Ferguson, St. Louis, was on the ground in Ferguson, was interviewed on CNN, and then went on to be a Harvard fellow. Nas has a fellowship at Harvard, and then Tef Poe went to become a Harvard fellow because he was into he was into like conscious hip hop all the time. And like, damn, Quest, you can't even like shout out Tef Poe. So you see what I'm saying? Like, there's a consensus, not what's the word I'm looking for? Consensus is fine. I'll go back to that. There's a consensus that hip hop doesn't do this anymore. And the only way we're going to get it is if we get protest music on the radio. And I'm like, bro, there's so much going on that is hip hop, 100%. The culture, the activism, all that stuff that isn't music on the radio. So I'm just saying, I would love for our OGs who speak on these things to, if you're going to criticize, boost at the same time. That's one. When someone like Macklemore drops a song that's, very, I don't know, at the moment, that's cool. That's great. But let's not act like that's the end all be all. It's like the same people that look at Hamilton and be like, oh, hip hop theater, look at that. Hamilton, fantastic. Fantastic. And I'm like, the hip hop theater has been a thing, right? Like it doesn't start and stop at Hamilton. And people, yeah, no, all I know is Hamilton. And then so we do our culture a disservice when we don't let people know that it existed before Hamilton and existed after Hamilton. So that's the kind of mentality I have. And I'm just a guy just trying to preach a thing. But I'm just trying to say, look, we need to really recognize. And so whatever Macklemore did tonight, if you haven't heard it yet, it's fine. It's a great screed. It's a great thing. But that everything that hip hop glitters is not hip hop gold. So it's nice, it's good, it's not the end all be all. Our conversations about hip hop activism, about hip hop as something that can affect change, cannot start and stop with songs on the radio, music, protest songs, Macklemore, Kendrick and Drake. That's all music. It's all music business. Kendrick and Drake are still major label artists. Macklemore is still a major label artist. None of this is underground. None of this is in the weeds, grassroots hip hop. But we have people. We have organizations. We have media outlets. Bing, 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 bing. Yo.
Many faces.
You sick for this one.
We have people doing this work. So please, when you hear someone do the thing and it's like, yay, also say, maybe you can do this. Maybe this is something that we have to do as consumers of social media. We have to jump in on these posts and say, oh, that's great that Macklemore did this song. Also, da 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 is doing this thing. So that's part of our work, right? Because we're not going to get the machine behind us. The major media, let me tell you something about, I don't want to go into this longer story. Hip hop media is not covering anything of value until it's controversial and until it causes, some kind of stir. So the real work being done, the people like Adele Winfrey, the people like, Philip drumming up in the spot, and countless people. If you know me, you already know. I've done 80 episodes of Hip Hop Could Save America. It's a podcast. Go Google it. Hip Hop Could Save America. I talk to the educators, the mental health professionals, the hip hop historians, the archivists, the theater folk, the people who are integrating classical music and hip hop. Like I talk to them all. There's so much work being done to amplify and uplift humanity through hip hop that's not being recognized by any of these people. Kendrick, Drake, Macklemore, the hip hop media. So I don't know. I saw people getting really excited about Macklemore's song and Macklemore's fine. And, it's cool. But to me, it's a history of pandering. And it's a little disingenuous. I think if Macklemore, since October 7th, Macklemore could have made a song about Palestine. But he didn't until there was enough bubbling interest in a contrarian alternative to Drake Kendrick, where enough people were saying, there's bigger issues in the world happening, like what's happening in Palestine. We should be rapping about that. And then a song comes out. So, feel me? It's fine. It's good. But there have been hip hop folk that have been talking about Palestine. Like I said, I've been doing the Newsbeat podcast. We've been doing it for months. I'm just bringing my own receipts. I've been doing it. But there's others, there's organizations, and y'all might not have heard of Newsbeat. And I hear about a lot of folks because that's what I do. I study this stuff, but I might not have heard of a local organization. a Muslim organization, perhaps, maybe based in whatever, that's got some hip hop heads kind of at the helm, and they're trying to work on legislation locally. Like, I'm trying to find those places. I know they exist. I hear about them, and I know that people are working. There's legislators in Congress, in state legislature, that are working on the issues to try to convince the Biden administration. Democrats that are a part of the Biden administration trying to get the Biden administration to flip the script. We need to be looking at those people and saying, how can we support them perhaps? Maybe we don't all put money. Politics is a weird thing. I get it. Not everyone wants to be in the mix. But if we're not in the mix, then all this stuff happens without us having our 2 cents involved. So as hip hop heads with a hip hop mindset and a hip hop worldview, we know that there's more to, these solutions than just making a song or just calling attention to an issue. And that Drake and Kendrick can go back and forth for another 6 months. We'll be exhausted. I'm already exhausted. Plus, it's Knicks playoff season. How am I alive? I call my doctor and be like, can I triple my blood pressure medicine for the next 3 months? Because we're having a time right now. What I'm saying is we can definitely do more as a global and as a local hip hop community to understand and to emphasize and signal boost everything we can that isn't a celebrity driven thing. We can partake in it. We can enjoy it. And Macklemore wants to drop a pro-Palestinian song. That's cool. And you say, wow, hip hop is, finally someone said it. They were even with Kendrick, they were like, bars are back. And I'm like, bro, bars have been back. Like, you're just not tuned in. So I guess my message is, if this matters to you, certainly if you're paying attention to me tonight, which you could be anywhere in the world, but you chilling with me, I guess you follow me and pay attention to what I'm doing, because I guess I'm centering me. My centering is centering everybody else. So you know that I'll bring you people who are doing this work. So just if I could have, 5 more folks tune in every Monday night on YouTube, just check my links, go check the link and sign on to the YouTube channel and subscribe, because I talk to these people. I got interviews for the last 4 lined up, from an occupational therapist that uses hip hop and occupational therapy, an ex-member of the Zulu Nation that uses hip hop as a way for peace and youth empowerment. A brother who uses hip hop, wrote a book, and it's not right in front of me, who uses hip hop to help teach writing, creative writing at a college level. Like, the people I talk to are doing so much more than just making a song. And yes, celebrity can reach a lot of people, but I don't think, here's the thing. I think if you're a hip hop based educator and you have 17 people in your class, 14 of those people are never going to forget that class. You've brought hip hop, you've brought culture into the classroom, you've connected to them on a cultural level. You didn't disrespect their, it's called culturally relevant or culturally responsive pedagogy, right? It's a way of teaching that respects the culture of the kids. So if the kids are coming in, I'm hip hop, they're like, okay, I'm gonna meet you where you are, and we're gonna have a good experience. And I'm gonna take this class that's maybe has nothing to do with hip hop, nothing to do with music, nothing to do with any of that stuff. But I'm gonna find a way to connect it, and you're gonna have a great experience here, and we're gonna get you involved, and you're gonna be engaged, and you're gonna do great academically. You're gonna leave that class. I know this. I talk to them, and I talk to the kids that have been in these classes, and they're like, "Yo, this class was so lit. I had so much fun in the class. I wish all my classes were like this." So that 14, 15 people a semester, it's not a lot. It's not a groundswell. I get it. I would bet, and I got to do some research. Maybe this is, part of the reason I do some research. I'm trying to be an academic like my smart friends. I would bet that the net result of who goes forward in life with knowing that hip hop can be a way to improve society and uplift humanity, I bet you the kids in that class are well more in tune with that idea than anybody who listened to Macklemore's song, or anybody who listened to any protest song by one of their favorite artists. Because just like you can't remember exactly, a lot of people can't remember the lines that started the Drake-Kendrick beef. They certainly can't remember everything that was said in the first song and the first response, or the two songs that Kendrick dropped, and then the first response, and then the response by Kendrick. Like, we forget. We're done. We're just waiting for the next thing already. We're so excited. Give me the next thing. We've forgotten about everything. So anyone that's going to be like, oh, I'm a fan of Macklemore. Oh, this song is fantastic. Oh, it really touches on the issues in such a compelling and visceral way. And I'm pro Palestine. And yes, and I'm going to maybe go to a protest that I wasn't thinking about going before, but maybe they inspired me. I bet you that net number is less than the grand total, the sum total of all of the young people who have been exposed to hip hop in a classroom, in a mental health setting, in a community organization setting, in a community political setting. They just had the hip hop education conference at Harvard's Graduate School of Education. I was at the Hip Hop Youth Research and Activism Conference in Fordham University in the Bronx. Like, the kids there that are going through this process of recognizing hip hop as not just music, not just entertainment, but as a way of life, a way of seeing the world, and a way of improving the world. I'll do some research, but I guarantee the people who are doing what I'm advocating for, way more effective, turn into way more, like, much more likely to turn into change makers and, do-gooders in the world than anyone who hears, like, their favorite artist do a song about a thing. So I guess that's it. Thanks for rocking with me tonight. I don't know. I don't even know how. I don't know why I went on Instagram either. Like, I do a weekly show, and I didn't do the show tonight. And I just kind of was like, let me just jump on. And I know how to tie Instagram into my system, so that was cool. So I basically just tried it. And that's it. I'm going to go back, probably argue people on Facebook who don't agree with me. But I'm telling you, follow us, hiphopcansaveamerica.com. And there's a podcast, but also click on watch and you go to the YouTube, subscribe to the YouTube. We're here every Monday night, 9 p.m. live. I kind of took off. I guess I could upload it. Philip, thank you, sir. Thank you, Philip Drummond. One of the best monikers out there. One of the best monikers. Not as good as Manny Faces. I'll give you the alternates one day. What it could have been instead of Manny Faces. I made the right choice. Anyway, thanks, y'all. I appreciate y'all. I'm going to go back on Facebook and argue with people until I get tired. Shouts to the New York Knicks. Shouts to everyone tuned in. I love y'all. Peace and love. Every Monday night. I didn't do a show tonight, so I felt like I still had to do something. But we'll be back next week. I'm putting up like 4 interviews you might have missed this week. I'll be in Ireland for the European Hip Hop Studies Conference, doing some smart people stuff. And then I'm here. So, come talk to me. Let me know what's up. Love y'all. Peace.